Welcome to the ACC Panic Room alongside Lauren Brownlow. I'm Joe Ovies. And new year, same old issues for the ACC. It's kind of, I basically do one of these when it comes to ACC basketball these days. Shout out to Wake Forest that is actually taking advantage of this with a nice win over Florida State. NC State finally broke through from their losing streak and having lost six of their last seven with a nice win on the road at Virginia Tech. And then you also have the other part of ACC basketball where teams have been paused because of pauses. There's been postponements. How they're going to get all these games in before the tournament, Lauren. You know, we saw Duke last night at Cameron Indoor Stadium. Both teams coming off of COVID issues, and both teams looked pretty sluggish last night, even though Duke didn't win.
Yeah, it was an ugly game for sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I don't know, it's weird. ACC is fifth in KenPom right now, like ahead of the Pac-12. I don't know. I'm just using the old eyeballs here, but I mean,
do they pass the eye test, Brownlow?
I don't know, man. Like I've said this all year, right? But like what's hurting the league right now is that there are not a lot of top teams, like top tier teams. The middle teams are just okay, and the bad teams are really bad. And that's honestly not usually the case. There's usually like a couple of top tier teams. The middle's usually a little bit stronger, and then the bottom is usually not this bad, and it's all very bad.
Yeah, well, it's interesting too. You and I were at Cameron last night, and during one of the timeouts, you were scrolling through Twitter and you saw the Field of 68, which is run by Rob Doster and Jeff Goodman, and they've got the Miller brothers, not Wes Miller, Lauren, Archie and Sean Miller, and they were doing some live thing last night and talking about Kentucky and how like Kentucky's strength of schedule isn't all that or whatever. And you had pointed this out. You're like, wait a minute, they played Duke. Duke's clearly a title contender, and they're just kind of dismissing the win against Carolina. And it's almost like Carolina's been forgotten about. I know they played a night as of this recording against Notre Dame, but
yeah,
it's even strange that North Carolina, which is I think Carolina's like 30th in KenPom. They're not a bad team.
No, and also, like, by the way, I mean, not that this is a Kentucky, show, but I mean, I'm looking at their KenPom. I mean, they've played like Ohio too, and like they're top 100 in KenPom. Western Kentucky's 107. They lost to Notre Dame, so I guess maybe that's what some people are looking at. But look, I saw that team in person in Vegas. That team is legit. Carolina looked like they had some things to work out in that one, but then Carolina came back out against a admittedly very bad Boston College team and took care of business. So who knows, right? Like transitively speaking, I guess Carolina should lose, right? Since Notre Dame beat Kentucky and Kentucky beat Carolina by like 30. Like, does that mean transitively UNC loses? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to do the internal math.
Wait, Notre Dame only beat Pitt by 1 point? Good Lord. Okay.
It's a total mess. Which gets us to NC State, who finally notched a win against Virginia Tech last night. And it very much played out like an NC State game that we've come to expect out of Kevin Keatts. And if you really want to just kind of drill down to this season and this particular roster, it is – I don't think anybody over at NC State would get upset at me if I simply pointed out that this is not Kevin Keatts' best roster for a variety of reasons. Guys who have transferred, guys who never showed up, injuries like Manny Bates. This is a flawed team. I'm not saying anything that's out of pocket as it relates to NC State. However, the one thing that is true of Kevin Keatts' squads at NC State since he's been here is that they do not quit. They plug away. I think I jokingly said last night they got short memories. Oh, did you just go 10 minutes playing horrendous basketball? Poof, gone. No big deal. Yeah. We're just going to go fill it up now. We'll have a good defensive sequence.
That's a really good way of putting it, actually. It's like a team full of defensive backs,
Yes. You have to have a short memory.
And confidence.
I get that the record is the record, okay? Like you are what your record says you are. However, if you've watched NC State play this year, at no point can you say to them, "Oh man, you got nothing." No, they've been in games, and oftentimes with a roster like that, That's all you can really ask, and eventually something was going to break your way, and that was NC State last night. Darian Sebron has been
so good.
I'm not saying he is the player of the year in the ACC.
He's in the conversation.
But the way he's been playing for NC State and the numbers that dude continues to put up, and he's in a position where he also has to handle the ball, he is easily one of the top 3 players in the league right now. He is absolutely fun to watch, and that dude just does not care. He is filling it up. He's been fun. Terquavion Smith also showed up last night. Quality minutes from Ernest Ross, who is a necessary piece for NC State in development as the season goes on, if they're going to try to claw out a decent record in the ACC. But I can see it with State. It's just a matter of them actually pulling it off, and that was a good win for them last night.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think that they needed like a little bit of, I don't know, proof of concept. Is that the –
Sure.
I mean, they had so many games like this where – I mean, I don't think it felt like they hadn't won a close game since like Nebraska, which was in November. So, or early December, one of the two. I don't know. I don't know what days are anymore. But yeah, like it's just they needed to see that they could still hang on and win one of those. It's a tough place to play at Virginia Tech. I know Virginia Tech was coming off their own COVID pause, but State did what it needed to do. And one thing I love about Sebron too is he seems to have a real sense of the moment. You can tell you're watching one of the best players on any team, whether it's Paulo Banchero at Duke or Sebron, where at a certain point in the game when things just are getting a little squirrely, they're just kind of like, all right, we're going to keep giving it to you. And then that guy bails them out, whether it's Banchero or Sebron. And that's how you know you're dealing with an upper tier player there, in my opinion.
Speaking of Duke, I have problems with the folks at Cameron Indoor.
Uh-oh.
Look, I'm trying to work. I'm there on Press Row. I'm trying to work. I'm trying to craft some tweets, and
Look.
at some point last night, the folks over at Duke decided to put me on that Summer Jam screen and put this bad boy up where I was on the Oblivious cam, which better than the Mexi cam, deep cut. The Oblivious cam is actually a brilliant concept. Okay.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes during a timeout, we'll sit there and look at our phones or look at our screens. You had your laptop out, and they wait to see how long it takes for that person to realize they're on the video board. According to Josh, I was on the video board for a good 45 seconds. Sounds about right. Shout out to a few of the Duke students around who eventually were like, "Hey, you're on the screen." And I looked up and I motioned like, "Why are you picking on me? I'm crafting tweets over here. I'm working. Let me work in peace, Duke. Come on now."
To be fair, Cameron is. I would not exactly put Cameron Indoor in my top 5 work environments, like work-friendly environments.
Oh, I love going there. I love going there, though.
I do. No, that's the thing. It's weird. I love covering games there. Is it easy to work there? No, it's not. But like, and last night especially was kind of cool because there weren't as many students there, and you could hear a little bit more, even than you usually do. And so like that was pretty cool, including me accidentally yelling during a free throw because I read the tweet about Brian Kelly's accent. So yeah, I was like, I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to distract him, and he missed it too, which made it worse. I was like. At least that wasn't Josh Pastner yelling during Duke's free throws.
Yeah, I think he got warned about that. Yeah, this was the tweet that I was trying to craft. It was basically upset at Duke students for calling Jordan Usher. Jordan Usher, Princess Leia. Princess Leia has buns, y'all, not pigtails.
Joe Ovies.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I went full drill on that one. I'm like, you know what? I'm still tweeting this. I don't care. I don't care if you're putting me on the screen. I'm still tweeting through this. I'm not owned. You're owned.
Jordan Usher, it's like you're trying to trigger me with this tweet, though, because Jordan Usher, like, there every now and then, look, it's an entertainment product, right? And so sometimes I get caught up in the aesthetics.
Sure.
Okay, just like it bothers me that Carter Witt plays without a scrunchie for Wake Forest because, we have similar hair, and I understand what that would do to most people's hair if you played that way. Jordan Usher's pigtails. I love what you're going for, okay? But you just need to part you really just need to stick a cone back there and just part it as close as you can. But whatever he did back there, it was almost like, I just don't know. And the pigtails weren't even. They were like on different parts of the head. Just, and look, I'm not a hair person. You know, I'm not good at doing hair. But I mean, like, I could very quickly put together pigtails that are both even, right? And my part would be fairly close. I mean, I'm just saying. It doesn't take long, buddy. I like you. Come on.
Good point. It's a good point. About the basketball game, because I don't want to. Because we could talk about Josh Pastner after the game.
Is this not a Josh Pastner panic room? Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, this is not going to be a Josh Pastner panic room because that dude's wearing the face shield when it's pretty obvious the face shield doesn't do anything with Omicron.
Also, he keeps pulling it up.
I know. He basically made it a megaphone / COVID funnel. Like, I felt bad for the people on the at the scorer's table because he kept slamming it and yelling at them. It's like, dude, just stop spraying potential COVID on people, man.
He's lucky that Duke has like already all had it, or else Kay, I think, would have been a little less patient.
Yes. Although Kay was not patient for DeVoe, who not sure what he said.
We don't know. Yeah, I've been asked about this, and I did not hear that. For whatever reason, it kind of happened away from us. And
Kay didn't address it after the game. So
no, we also forgot to ask him.
Kay did kind of give DeVoe a little bit of a pep talk after the game, though.
Yes.
But regardless, Josh Pastner was having some sort of allergic reaction to the plastic material on his face shield, and he just kind of lost it last night and just went on and on and on and on.
No, that's just Josh.
And the best part is that he made Coach K. It's Coach K's final year. You're making the dude wait in the holding areas so he can finally address the media? Come on, Josh. That's not cool, bro. That's not cool.
He shouted out Atlanta reporters for coming, shouted out Barry Jacobs. Right after shouting out Barry Jacobs, mentioned he wanted to live to be 100, then said that wasn't enough time because 56 years wasn't enough time. He was just really on one last night, talking about his grandfather living to 102 and a half and all this other stuff. And then when we were done, he was like, that's it? And I was like, what just happened?
I really think he was trolling. I really think he was trolling Kay the entire time, but we'll never know. It could just be the way Josh Pastner is. But as far as the game is concerned, the only thing you can really say about it is, hey, you won and nobody got hurt. I'm not really going to judge Duke coming off a COVID pause because I could tell with about 10 minutes to go in the second half, they looked gassed. Yeah, absolutely gassed. And Coach K addressed it last night.
I tweeted this too. Yeah, he said that they were kind of gassed still. They're still working their way back from that pause. Mm-hmm. But I tweeted this like Duke looked like me on a Sunday morning at like 10 a.m. where I'm just like, I'm done. I know I've got a football game in like 3 hours I have to watch. That is defeating me already. Let me just get through these next few hours, and that's kind of what Duke reminded me of last night. But like I alluded to earlier, like when they needed a bucket, when things ever got tense, they did what they needed to do. They just went to Banchero. And I do, Kay was glad to be asked about this last night. And I was glad he was too, because I do think this Duke team is special defensively. I don't think they're amazing offensively, but I also don't know that they have to be against a lot of teams that play.
I don't think they have to be.
I mean, they were horrendous last night offensively in a lot of ways, but they got it done when they needed to. They rebounded well. They defended at a really high level most of the time, and that's what got them through that game. And like Kay was telling them, you can be tired on offense, don't be tired on defense. It paid off for them. And I mean, and then like I said, they just started getting the ball to Banchero whenever they needed a bucket and he could deliver. So, I mean, I'm not like looking at this and going, whoa, what's wrong with Duke or anything? Because it was just kind of, Wendell Moore. I remember seeing his face last night when he hit his first shot of the game. He ended up, I think he was like 1 for 9 or something. He was kind of slightly smiling, but he was more just like, finally, geez. And I think he was just like, you just take that game tape and flush it. You flush it in the garbage and burn it and never speak of it again.
Carolina plays Notre Dame tonight, coming off a blowout win against Boston College. We referenced it earlier.
But if it's transitive with them, they beat Boston College by 30 and Boston College beat Notre Dame by 15.
So there you go. It all works out.
Tell me how any of this makes sense.
None of it. That's the thing. None of it makes sense. And that's why I thought it was kind of strange that we've been so I've found the conversation around Carolina overly critical for not a lot of information presented to us. Right. And when you kind of take a step back from was the loss against Kentucky bad? Yeah, it was bad. But they shook it off. The Tennessee loss early in the season. I'm not going to get too wrapped up in games that happened in November and December. I'm more curious to see how, with what Hubert Davis is trying to do, new pieces that have included transfers, how that stuff starts to come together now. I find like going to Georgia Tech and getting a win, which is
that was a really good win.
A traditionally hard place for the Tar Heels to play. I think that tells me more about this team.
Yeah.
How this week alone, the Boston College game, playing Notre Dame tonight. We all know how we feel about Mike Brey as a head coach. That to me tells me more about this squad than the Kentucky loss in Vegas in a weird situation where the opponent that you were supposed to play, UCLA, goes on a COVID pause, and then you got to play Kentucky out of the gate. So I find the conversation around Carolina very alarmist for a team that, if you just take a step back, isn't that bad.
I think it depends on what your perspective is, though, right? Like, what way are you framing it from? Are you framing it from like they could contend in the ACC and this loss to Kentucky like eliminates that? Then yes, that you're right. That's silly. Of course, that's not
a silly conversation. Yeah.
But when just think about what you just said. Carolina, not that bad. I think they want, you know what I mean? Like
but here's the thing: after the national championship, how has Carolina been?
That's true. That's true.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like we're acting like the last couple of years under Roy Williams after the national
championship.
Well,
I would say 19 wasn't like that, but yeah, everything else was yeah.
They've been good teams. Like I don't know. I think we're acting. I think all of a sudden it went from, man, we got to move on from Roy because the game is passing him by, to romanticizing where things were with Roy Williams.
Well, and that I think that there is some of that, and maybe there's even some people who didn't want either anymore. I don't know. Who knows?
That's ultimately what this comes down to. There are people who did not want Hubert Davis to be the head coach. They never even gave it a thought that Hubert Davis was going to be the head coach. They had their eyes on guys that were never coming to UNC, or if you wanted to keep it within the family, you wanted Wes Miller. And I think that's ultimately what's going to be held against. This is an issue at Carolina that I don't think Duke is going to go through when John Shire takes over next year. We could spend an entire Panic Room on the odd dynamics of Carolina fandom and the unwillingness to understand that you had it really freaking good with Dean Smith and Roy Williams and even Bill Guthridge in between that. So with a blip of Matt Doherty, I don't quite think that fans have reckoned with that yet. Whereas I feel like Duke fans have a bit more awareness of what's about to take place when Coach K finally retires.
Coach K Carolina doesn't have an analogy to Coach K, but the closest is Dean, right? And I say that because essentially everything good that's come to Duke basketball, everything of significance, the most significant accomplishments have come under Coach K. We know that's not true at Carolina. They've had multiple coaches do that. And so I think Dean, from a personality perspective and how long he was there, is the closest to K in the sense that if he says it, I think Duke fans are going to be on board with it, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like if he's telling you Shire's the guy and he's around and he's going to be around that program next year saying X, Y, and Z, I think even if Duke fans get a little squirrely, I think that they will trust K and we haven't, like, Roy's been at games, but it's not like Roy's talking to the media, and being like, and I'm not saying he should. I'm not saying he should. It's not a style. It's whatever. But it's not like Roy. I could see Kay talking to the media or talking to his sources or whatever and being like, hey, John's just dealing with this, that, and the other. I could see Kay being more active in defending John Shire than I think Roy would be. And that's just because Roy's trying to be hands off. It's not because he doesn't want Hubert to succeed. It's not because he's just trying to stay out of it. And Kay's not going to be that way when he retires. So I think that's going to influence it too. But yeah, I think there is an element of trust there in Kay that's maybe not there in Roy in terms of choosing a successor, if that makes sense. And I don't think it's an insult. I think it's just, first of all, Carolina's been burned by bad hires that people thought, wanted to stay within the family, whatever. So that there's that part. And then, like I said, K is K. There's no one else that Duke basketball fans look to and go, oh, well, he also, there's a few blips in there that people have had success, but no, like that K is their guy. K is it. And so if he says this is the one, this is the one.
Well, that's going to wrap it up for this edition of the ACC Panic Room. We will see you Sunday morning talking about some more hoops with State in action against Clemson, Duke against Miami. And I don't have the schedule in front of me, but I know there's other basketball games.
Carolina plays Virginia, I believe.
That's right.
Which is intriguing because Virginia got a win yesterday. And hey, listen, what happened last night? I pulled up Stat Broadcast.
Yeah.
Their game and was looking at the scoreboard of our game. And I'm like, how do Virginia and Clemson have like 40 more combined points than this game at nearly the same point of action? But that's where we were at.
Too funny. All right, we'll see you all on Sunday morning.